Okay, so welcome to the Wewealth Women Podcast. I'm your host and founder of Wewealth Women, Athena, favorite CPA and wealth coach here. Now, today I am super duper excited. We have Aisha Virzi, and she is going to share all of her knowledge with us today. So I'm excited to have you on the show. Aisha, how are you?
I'm doing well. So great to be here, Athena. Thank you for the invitation. I'm truly grateful and happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes. So further ado, I'm going to read her lovely bio so everyone can know how fabulous you are. So Aisha Virzi is an expert in the financial service industry, specializing in life insurance and retirement. With almost a decade of experience, becoming a marketing director, helping families and business owners achieve their financial goals and build a family legacy. In her previous career, she was a market manager in the fashion retail industry for over a decade. Developed leaders, maximize growth and profit for the companies. Aisha has been professionally trained with an extensive field experience in finding out the client's needs and providing exceptional service that best suits each client on an individual basis. She earned her license almost 10 years ago in the state of California and currently licensed in 28 states. Aisha, that's a lot of states, girl.
Yeah.
With a dedication and commitment to helping clients and her business partners achieve their financial goals and God-sized dreams. Amen. She has been able to impact the lives of many in the community and all over the country. She is also engaged in nonprofit organization helping to provide education and leadership to underserved in the community in Nigeria, with an unwavering dedication to helping make a difference in the lives of others. Aisha is married and blessed with two amazing children. Here I am, Lord, and I will come do your will is her motto. So, girl, that sounds like you have been busy. How do you have the time?
Really, right? How do you have the time? You just make it. You make it happen. And I just believe, as an immigrant to the United States, first of all, and again, just being an immigrant and understanding how it's important to utilize your time wisely, and this opportunity has been given to you. So I don't take it lightly. So we make it happen. We don't give excuses. We just find out what we need to get done. We map it out and we go for it. So really, that's what I've been doing all these years.
Listen, I can totally relate as an immigrant to the United States as well. The mindset is definitely, you need to figure it out and get things done as much as possible and maximize opportunities, especially because, you sacrifice so much just to get here. How do you feel about some of the immigrant backlash you think Native people of America feel about other immigrants coming over and starting over their lives here?
Wow. I say brothers, my sisters, I always say brothers and sisters. It's kind of sad, to be honest with you, because we all come here for an opportunity. We hear about that house on the hill with the lights on, shining brightly. And for those of us who are not born here, we hear about the stories and we hear about the opportunities available to us. So what we want to do, we want to do everything we can to come here, to come see the opportunity to grab hold of it and run with it. So when our brothers and sisters here see us and tag us as, one of us, or you know what I mean, and they say all these things, but
Heather.
yeah, well, that's what I said. What is tether? I said, wow, that's a new one, and it's sad, but I think that unfortunately, when we fall on the backlash, yeah, it gives us a chance to also maybe try to understand why they feel that way, but more importantly, to see brothers and sisters, we can work together, right? There's no need for backlash. As a matter of fact, when I came here, I was looking forward to working with my brothers and sisters that are here. That was my dream. I wanted to be around them, to work with them. It didn't work out that way, but I still keep pursuing that because I believe that we need each other. We belong to each other. And even with the backlash and all, we still gonna work together. I really believe that. So that's why I do what I'm doing.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you are doing that work. Yeah, because, as much backlash as a lot of us get when we come here and we face here, there's a other side to that story. You're leaving your homeland, you're leaving everything you're leaving your house, your furniture. I remember coming here, I only had like 2 suitcases.
Mm,
That was everything that I had when I came here to start
mhm,
over. So
mhm,
it's not an easy, decision to even make, to have to start uproot your life in that way. Thankfully, I was a child when I did, but I remember talking to my dad about it, and
mhm,
he was a little bit older than me. He was 35 when
mhm,
he came here,
mhm.
and when he told me that, I was like, wow. Just to even mentally put myself in the mind state at this similar age, to have to go move to a country and start my life over and start with nothing. I don't know. It takes a lot of gall. It takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of gumption to do that. So I'm sure similarly, that you can probably relate to that.
Absolutely, Athena. It's crazy how I think people forget that part. And you're so right. You leave your your family, your friends, everything you're comfortable around, everything that you know that you were born, your culture, your love, people that love you very deeply. You leave them because you believe that there's an opportunity for you to come to do something here, and that's something that nobody asks you about. Your family. Wow, that is so brave of you to leave your continent, your own. You left the whole Africa and come to a different continent to start fresh with no one, just you and the people around you that you get to become friends with, right? And you're absolutely right. For me, my family, I'm the first and only generation of my family here. And at least when we meet more people, we see, wow, my dad was here, my sister was here. I'm still working towards bringing my family here, because the, there's this separation that people don't understand. We have that we left all our family back home and our friends to be in a place where we're trying to do something different, because we
Hmm.
believe that if we work hard and this community or this situation or country allows us to do something different for our family, we want to do it. We want to sacrifice to do it. And so I think hopefully they can see that part as well and welcome us, so we can actually have this shared experience, ask their experience, ask our experience, and come together and just create something magical, right? But it takes somebody to want to give you that chance to do that, to say, okay, well, let me hear your story, then let's see how we can work together. Most of the time they don't want to, right? They don't want to. They always think, oh, well, because you're from Africa, you have more opportunities. I'm like, no, no, I work hard for everything I have. I just don't get it just because somebody thinks if I'm from Africa, I get something. No, it's hard work, really hard work and dedication. And all the things that our brothers and sisters here went through, we go through that as well. They
Hmm.
don't realize that we go through the same thing, the discrimination, we go through that. But the thing is, we rise above it. We realize that, well, listen, I know I'm a good person and I'm going to work well and I'm smart. I can do this, and
Hmm.
just stroke my and just keep going. So,
Right.
yeah.
I think one benefit we do have, though, is that we're coming from backgrounds and countries where we get up and most of the people look like us. And I always talk about growing up, like not having to think about my race as a factor
Mhm.
or as a debilitating thing. But when you come here, you realize that the environment here is, you can't avoid having to think about it even if you tried. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, do I think about my race? Do I think about being a Black woman? No. But I know that I think about it more so than if I was still living in Jamaica. Every time I go to Jamaica, I always feel a little relaxed because I'm like, oh, I don't have to think about, racism in that way. Is that
Mhm.
similar for you in when you go to Nigeria?
Oh yes, I just got back a few months ago. I always go a couple of times a year to see my family and visit, and because I'm also working there, I have an NGO that I'm working with, so I go there to help and support. But yeah, when I go home, you're absolutely right. You turn left, you turn right, look up and down. It's people that look like you. But I think that the most important part is that the doctors, the engineers, the pilots, the they're all black. So to us, it's
Mhm.
normal. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Like, what? That's part of life for me. So you're
Mhm.
right that when we come here, there's this reminder when you step out of your house. There's this little reminder that you're different.
Mhm.
Um, but do I allow it to bother me? No, I don't. Honestly, from the beginning, I just truly treat people the way they treat me. If you treat me bad, I will face you and tell you you're out of line and just tell you. It's as simple as that. But I know it's not easy. It's not easy, but we have to do it. That's the only way to feel that confidence. Like, listen, we're doctors. We're everything you think we are too back home. I'm here. I'm doing you a favor of being here. Terrible. I
Exactly.
do feel that way. I understand what you mean, but I try not to think about it when you walk out the door. I think the biggest one is, am I going to steal something if I go into a shop that is a fancy shop? That's the one that really
Yeah.
irks me the most.
Well, that happened to Oprah. So if it can happen to one of the richest women in the world, we are not immune. We are
That's
not
the one that
exempt
really
from
irks
that.
me. Like, excuse me, no, exactly. And I heard that, I said, wow, that's crazy. But
Hmm. Yeah.
or the other one that also irks me is that because of your color, you may not be smart enough. You might not understand, and you're thinking, what? Okay, well, let's see. And then they see that you do so well, and they're shocked. Well, how is that possible? Well,
Yeah,
because
I remember going to school here, like when I first started school, because I chose not to. I don't know why, but the opportunity to skip a couple grades came here because as much as people want to talk about our home countries, like our education system surpasses United States, and that just lets you know how bad education is here. But I remember when I was here that even as a child now, I did pick up the subtle, expectations that people were surprised that I was high performing. People, like, the expectation was because I was a Black child that I would not be performing well. And I think that is sort of some of the mental prison
mm,
that happens when you live, especially in countries as a Black person where you are not the majority. Because coming from Jamaica, of course, not everybody in Jamaica or Nigeria or elsewhere is like a professor or philosopher, right? But there is no expectation that you will not succeed or be on a certain level just because of your skin color. As here, that is just not the case. It's almost like the bar is a little bit lower in
so
expectation.
low.
Hmm. Very so much. And so I think that's also one other benefit of being an immigrant, is just having these experiences and to be able to compare them to. So I want to segue from immigration and talk to you about quick little background about how I met Aisha. So Aisha and I was on this panel, Flying Nubian Money, that is a part of affiliated with Dr. Boyce.
Yes.
And from there, we were able to get to know each other. And then we went to All Black National Convention that was in Chicago this year in 2024. And she was amazing on the panel that she was on. And we got to connect even further. Now, Aisha, you are in the insurance industry. How did you get into that industry in the first
Yes,
place?
I am. Thank you for the question. Really, it started over 10 years ago. And this happened because I got the experience. I had the chance to have a agent come to the house because my husband is part of what we call the Knights of Columbus. It's a Catholic order where when that order was formed, now got to understand how it was formed, was to protect the widows. So when there's a loss in
Mhm.
the family, they come together as a community and help the widows because the widows have children. They were begging, so then they came. So this now in today's world of the Knights of Columbus, they came to our home, and when we got married, literally when we just first got married, and we're talking about my husband. They came in and had a meeting with us, and from what I was watching, they were asking questions, taking notes. And then when the agent left, I was actually upset with my husband. I'm like, why was he here? We're not going to pay that. right? Because he was telling my husband how much it will cost for the insurance, the life insurance we were going to get. I was actually upset because I didn't know about life insurance. I didn't understand it, right? So then my husband explained to me, he said, sweetie, it's because if something happens to me, this home, I want you to be here. I don't want you to have to worry about where you're going to live. I said, oh, okay. Then I started having a different thought about it. But guess what? What happened again was when we had a child, the same agent came back to adjust the insurance from just, okay, we're protecting the home to now adding for the education of the child and the welfare of the child. So now we have to pay actually more. We have to contribute more now to this policy we're getting. So the more I started understanding, now this is why people that do this, when something happens, they never ask for money. Their life just continues. They have a better life. Actually, things stay the same or even better for them. So I said, how can I do this? Is this possible to do this? I'm shocked that people don't talk about this all day long. They said, well, you have to have a license to get this done. Literally, I said, I want to do this. I want to do this. That is how I got into the industry. I left my previous industry where I have my degree and started this many years ago. So you have to have a state license. You have to be trained properly. And I did it, and I've been immersed in this every single day because I have clients I'm talking to every day, families I'm visiting every day, because every person's story is different. Family stories are different. Business, so that's how I started this business, because of my own personal experience and understanding the value of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is such a powerful story. And I want to touch on something that you said with the life insurance. People's standard of living either remains the same or increase. So a lot of our viewers are women, right? And a statistic that happens is that when a woman is facing either a divorce or she is widowed, 50% of them will experience a decrease in lifestyle, like a downgrade in lifestyle, and 25% of them will experience fall into poverty, like poverty levels. How, with life insurance, how have you seen that change or impact women?
That's another great question. And life insurance actually is a very powerful financial tool. It's a tool that a family uses, first of all, to protect the family, and then to transfer wealth to their family by maintaining their legacy. When it comes to a separation in a family and there's insurance involved, actually nothing gets lost in the insurance because each spouse has their own policy if set up properly. So even if there's a separation, every spouse will keep their policy because they are the owners of that policy. So they own that policy. Perhaps now she has to assume payments, the contribution of now paying the premiums. Yes, but she keeps that policy. And if it's a whole life policy, which has cash value, while she's trying to find her bearings, the cash value will maintain the policy for her until she's able to now assume payment of the policy, but she does not lose it. But sometimes, if you're not well educated on insurance policy, what people do is attach themselves to their spouse's policy, right? So then if something happens, the spouse may just cut them off the policy and then they have nothing. But in the way that I understand and the way we, with my knowledge, is that each spouse has theirs, but each becomes a beneficiary. But if it is a divorce, no problem. She assumes payment of the policy and then changes the beneficiary maybe to her children only, right? She can, because you can change that at any time. You can change the beneficiary at any time with no problem. So really, it just depends on how it's set up from the beginning. With my expertise, I make sure that I understand what the client needs, but I always from the beginning communicate with them clearly that as a spouse, it's better to always have separate policies because of stuff like this happening in the future. We tell them there can be a separation tomorrow. We don't want that, but it's good to have maintain your policy until such a time. If anything happens, if it doesn't happen no problem. You still have your policy. So it just depends on how it was set up from the beginning, and trying to preserve that policy.
Great. I'm glad that you shared that because that is something that women need to be prepared for, especially in the event of divorce. That if everything is under one of your spouse's names and you divorce, then you would have to theoretically get a whole brand new policy at a later age date, which will, from my understanding of insurance, because I'm actually have a little bit of understanding of insurance. I'm licensed technically in the state of Florida. That the premiums would be higher because of getting insurance at a older age.
That's absolutely true. That's the two factors that really affect your policies: your age and your health. That's it. Your age and your health. So, going back to what we just talked about, if the best thing is be open. I think that what happens is people see life insurance as a taboo, especially in our community. They don't want to talk about it openly, while you know uh other brothers and sisters that are open about it talk about it openly. I have this coverage, I have that coverage. So there's no secret. It's not a secret thing. Everybody in the family has their policy, so then you know how to better manage it, right? So if you do it, if you have it set up on, maybe because when you got married, you did it right away, you were younger, you own it, and the price stays the same. But if you attach it to someone else and then you now take it out, or the person stops payment because they don't want to support you, now you lose opportunity to have your policy, right? So I think that age and your health is the biggest factor when you want to buy a policy. So let's take care of it as quickly as we can, for sure.
Right, exactly. So with life insurance, and you talked about the transfer of wealth, in the event that a partner or a spouse or whoever is on as the beneficiary, what would that look like as far as transferring wealth? Do you recommend that people take, women especially, life insurance policies to use that to protect their legacy, to even in their trust? Because I'm sure when people pass away, right, there's their house, there's their other assets. How does life insurance come into play with that?
Life insurance, honestly, is one of the most powerful tools I've come to understand. Um, I'm very vast in other financial tools. And as a financial professional, it is my duty to actually learn about other tools so I can better serve my clients. So when I serve my clients, I'm aware of the other tools that are available. Even though I'm not licensed to take care of that particular financial tool, I can
Mhm.
tell them clearly how to better manage that. Life insurance is the one non-asset class that really belongs to you. If you have a home, business can be taken away from you, right? But I also know that out there you get advised, put it in the trust. Absolutely, put it in the trust. But life insurance on its own is an endowment. So the only person that can benefit from it is the as a beneficiary. Period. Nobody else. Nobody can sue you. Nobody can take it away from you. That is why it's such a powerful tool. That even if you don't have it under a trust, it doesn't take away from the power of that contract, because it's really between you and the insurance company and the beneficiary. That's it, and nothing else. And the government did that for a reason, because remember, life insurance has been available now for almost 180 years, right? And when this was created, it was for the elite. They have their estate. They want to protect their estate because they don't want anybody to take their estate from them. So life insurance was used to cover their estate. So whatever happens, they use that money to fund and protect for taxation or any kind of debt that they owe, to take care of it so the family estate remains intact, right? So I think that if we think about it in that context, we realize that, wow, this is a tool that, even if you don't have a trust, just the way it's set up, just for what it is, it's an endowment. You can't take it away from the person that is the beneficiary, right? But is it advisable to put it in the trust? Yes. If you have a trust, you let the trust be the owner of the policy. So when the proceeds, if God forbid something happens prematurely, or if you live long, it doesn't matter. and the proceeds now are paid to the trust. And then, of course, the trust now will execute according to whatever you want that money to
Mhm.
be done with. So really, there's so many ways it can be set up. Again, it depends on each individual and what the family has and the family assets, right? But on its own, standalone, it cannot be touched really.
Mhm.
So, but if you have a trust, absolutely have the trust be the owner. So that way, then nobody owns it, but the trust owns it. The trust is
And
one
then
that owns
whoever is the beneficiaries of the trust will get
exactly,
access to that.
exactly,
What I
exactly.
do like about life insurance, when the death benefit is paid from the proceeds, at least at the current time, because laws can change, it is tax free. The IRS does not tax death benefits from life insurance, so that is definitely tax free wealth transfer from
Yes,
having a policy. And what I like about it, depending on what age you get it, it's very affordable. I think life insurance is more affordable than people think. I mean, some people do get some kind of benefit through their employer, but what I understand is there's so much that goes into the amount you need to have, depending on the assets that you need to have and what you estimate your future should be, that oftentimes people underinsure. Is that correct, Aisha?
that is absolutely correct. I'm so glad you brought that up. Um, as a professional in this field, I will 100% advise my clients to get their own personal policy. Your policy from your job is called a group policy, meaning you are the insured and the company is the owner of the policy. You're not the owner of the policy. Number one, if somebody owns something, they can take it away from you, right? You're not the owner. So if you leave that company, some companies allow you to have what they call a contributory policy, which means you can contribute a portion of the policy contribution, and then if you leave the company, then you assume the complete payment of that policy. But ask yourself, really, how much coverage would you have if you are with a company? They only provide you, like you said, minimum just to maybe cover your debt. That's about it. So we call it the final expense, just to help you with your final expense. And also, there's some caveat to that as well. If you died at work or all those caveats you don't think about until it happens, and then now you're concerned about, oh my goodness, so my policy, it didn't cover this, it didn't cover that, because again, you are the insured and they are the owner, and they give you what they can afford. But if you buy your own personal policy, you're thinking about your family asset and also transferring wealth and also building wealth, right? So all this come to play. So we call the golden handcuffs. Your job will give you, a small life insurance policy, and you ask a client, if you meet somebody, ask them, hey, do you have life insurance? Say they have children. Oh yes, I have one with my job. And been in this for over 10 years, I know it's less than 50K. And that is not going to do anything. Maybe the first year that policy is done, just paid for your, that's it. That's really all it did
Pay
for
for the
you.
funeral.
That's all it did for you, literally. So we're trying to re-educate our brothers and sisters to understand that, I'm glad you have it. That's great. But that really, you don't own it. You're just the insured. Please
Mhm.
think about it a little bit better and make better choices, because keep it. If they give it to you, that's great. But please, as quickly as possible, own your own policy by yourself where it belongs to you. So yeah, and if you have one with your job, like you said, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's only for final expense.
What I learned or thought about was whatever your yearly expenses are to maintain your lifestyle, you should get at least 10 times that much in a policy. That way you can actually afford to live off of it, because ideally what you'd want to do is to get the payout of that policy and then invest it, and you can just live off of the investments or the interest off of the investments. So for example, if you had a portfolio of, maybe let's do, that tracks S&P 500. So that's a popular index for those of you who don't know, because I can't assume everyone understands that. And the average of the S&P 500 is 10%. If you have $1 million policy, that will give you on average $100,000 a year, and then you possibly wouldn't even have to work. or what is advised is whoever the policy is on, whatever income that they're bringing in, have the policy be at least 10 times that, so you can at least replace their income. So now you don't have to worry, especially as a woman, how to afford the home and the lifestyle of you and your children, because like I said, 50% of women will fall into some kind of decrease in lifestyle from either divorce or being widowed, and 25% fall into poverty. Like, I have seen women who have undergone divorce and have to live with their like parents, or have to change all of that. Have you seen that as well, Aisha? Have you seen women who maybe were not financially planning or had life insurance be negatively impacted because they did not?
You know, it's such an important part of our financial legacy that in the field I've seen multiple times, multiple times. I can give you example of one of each so that you can see how dramatic it can affect a woman, especially because we're talking about women here, especially. But I had a client that she's actually a close friend of mine, and I just talk about when I started. I say, you know what, this is important. Can you please talk to your husband and find out if you guys have a policy, and they have a child. Of course, she came back. Oh, yes, we do have a policy, and it was the policy from work. So, knowing what I know, I said, you know what? I'm glad you guys have that, but that's not enough because usually, with my experience in this field, policy from work is usually just for your final expense. I tell this to all my clients, and then she said, "Well, I spoke to him. He said we're fine." So it's one of those that were set in their ways. We're comfortable with what they had. There's calculation you have to make when you're buying your policy, and you perfectly stated it. You want to at least have 10 times your income as your measure of your own personal policy, so that 10 times your income, meaning provides income for at least 10 years, so you can at least have that time to make changes and decision on what you need to do. Because when you have a loss, you're not thinking clearly. So much is happening, and imagine to not to have money in that time. So this particular friend of mine that happened, and then got, with things happening in like few years, maybe 3 years after our conversation later, husband got sick, and we couldn't believe it, and he passed away. He passed away. It was such a tough time for us, and we were so sad about it because he's young and she's a young mother as well. And when we went to help them out, the first thing, of course, her mom was very upset about was, now where are you going to live? Where are you going to live? Because people forget about that part, right? And then when we started going through the paperwork, we found out, okay, now the insurance from work was there, but it was very small. It was paid out, but it wasn't enough. Already now, they're already struggling financially because there was not enough to cover what she needs. She has a young daughter, and where they're living, and she wasn't working per se. She works but part-time. So now they had to move from where they were. They had to move out of their home. Now that's an adverse effect of not having the appropriate coverage and the right coverage for your family. And then now on the flip side, I met this lady, our kids, because my son is a swimmer. And when we go for all the swim meets, so we had a conversation. I told her, say, you have two kids. Do you guys have life insurance? I feel to me it's a crusade, an obligation to talk to my fellow women about insurance. She said, I think we do. I'm not sure, but I'll ask my husband. And she asked her husband. Same thing happened. He said, well, we have enough. I think we're okay. But I told her, I said, please make sure that you find out how much you have. We went through all that, and come to find out that they actually didn't have enough as well. But he was willing to add, and he added to the policy. And I was so happy for them he did. Would you believe, again, this is my second time, but this time around, it was a different story. He passed away in an accident because he's an engineer, and they work in a very precarious situation where they had they said they had engineers. So he got injured and he passed away. Would you believe that we were able to submit a check to his wife, and they just bought a home. She was able to pay for that home. They lived in their home. Everything stayed the same. We set her up that she doesn't have to work for the rest of her life. She doesn't want to. Now that's the difference between somebody taking the advice and doing something and saying, no, I have enough, and one actually hearing and saying, and then doing something, right? So I've seen both sides, and honestly, we need to be, sometimes you have to be actually firm and say, listen, you have children. This is not enough. You and I don't know when anything's going to happen to us. We don't know. If you tell me today that that would have happened, I would never believed you. But it happened. It really happened directly to me, not a hearsay story. So I believe that understanding how to calculate properly how much you need is very vital. Very vital.
Mm, right. That is such a powerful story. So, and I think it clearly illustrates the importance of having the difference life insurance can make. And most life insurance policies cost as much as a cell phone bill. So I feel like some of the intimidation that people have is like, oh, this is another thing that I have to, add on. But women are paying hundreds of dollars for hairstyles and nails, and what most women spend on nails can easily get a life insurance policy.
$500,000 life insurance policy, honestly. Honestly.
Exactly. Exactly. But before I go in deeper, I want everyone to know that they need to be sure to follow us at Wewealth Women on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and to listen to the Wewealth Women podcast on Apple, iHeart, and Spotify, wherever they can find that or listen to podcasts, and leave a 5-star review.
Yes,
Now,
please
you
do
said a
that.
lot. You said a lot. And I actually, oh my God, just listening to you talk, I want to talk about what you said about the husband. And he would, she was asking about what the insurance policy was. And then he thought he had enough. And then he went and got the additional, right? Where do you feel, from your experience in the field, that financial transparency exists within the relationships? Do women take the time to check with their husband and make sure that they have enough, or do they just trust what the husband says and hope and pray that they have enough? Are women looking at the finances closely with their partners?
That is a very important aspect of being in a relationship. When you marry someone, I think that everything you do, this is what I'm hoping, that it's collaborative, right? That we collaborate together. A husband, when he has a policy for the wife should know that there's a policy so that way, if anything happens, she knows what to look for and how to look for it, right? So I think life insurance, just because of the nature of it, people feel uncomfortable talking about it. But I feel that is one of the most important conversations that all of us should have with our loved ones, honestly. Because it's not about, oh, if you die, something means something's going to happen to you. I always ask people to think about it. It's like you having money in the bank. Do you care about when you're going to die? You don't. You have money in the bank because you need to have money in the bank to protect it as a savings place. You're doing the same thing here, but you're leveraging. You're leveraging your savings. Instead of putting the money in the bank or going to get your hair done or just go spend it, you're leveraging it. You're spending some, you're saving some, but you're putting some away where it's growing for you or building a nest for you that you don't see with the eye, but it's there. It's like a guardrail over your family. So I think transparency for both husband and wife is so important. I think that is why we also advise spouses, or even if you're by yourself, because that's a myth to say, oh no, or I shouldn't, I'm single, I don't need a policy, because that's not true. As long as you're alive and breathing and 2 weeks old, you should have a policy because you're a human being, you're an asset. You mentioned Dr. Boyce, the book he wrote, the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. We are an asset to our family, no matter how old or young we are. So those that understand the value of insurance, they are very transparent about it. husband and wife, children, they discuss it openly. Okay, now a child is born, we openly talk about it. Okay, this person has to be protected now. Oh my, you know, we don't have an, make sure that you have your protection as well. Just like buying the phone. Can you imagine when you go buy a phone, Athena, before you walk out, I tell you to buy insurance on your phone. But you, the irreplaceable human being that you are, nothing to protect you as a person. So it's like you have to be transparent and discuss it. Husband, you haven't, if you haven't had a talk before with your husband, it's okay. Just say, you know what, sweetie, can we have a conversation? I heard about something today. I learned from Wewealth Women about life insurance. I was listening to about that today, and can we have a conversation about this? I just wanted to know, do we have life insurance? Not do you have life insurance? Do we have life insurance? So you're making it collective. And he'll answer yes or no. Oh, I have some at work. Oh, well, that's so wonderful, husband. I hear, but I also hear that the one from work is not enough. Does that make sense? You help your husband understand better what you have learned. Say, hubby, from what I've learned, the one from work, it's really called a group policy. You are just the insured, the company is the owner of the policy. How about if we have somebody that is a professional talk to us about life insurance policy so we can know where we stand, if we need more or if we need less, right? So it's more conversational, not that way he can see, oh, okay, well, this is important. Yes, let's look at it together.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, we should know what we have as a family. I've seen people looking for paperwork, trying to figure out, and then they find that there's nothing, or Athena, or all the policy lapsed because there was no conversation. So they forgot to pay and the insurance company kept sending letters and, okay, your policy, you're not paying, you're not contributing, what's going on? Nobody responded. So it was never paid, and then it lapsed. So the transparency in relationship is so powerful that we have to talk about these things. They're important for both the husband and the wife. Even if you got divorced, you loved each other at one time, right? You cared about each other at one time. Just because you're separating doesn't mean that everything gets thrown out, right? So just really open communication and transparency, and have a honest conversation about it. And leading where you say, hey, I learned about this today. I just want to find out a little bit more. What do we have, and how can we make sure that we have what we need? And that's it.
That is so powerful. And I think, especially because I talk about financial deception. So, about 46% of relationships experience financial deception. So, this is something that's high. So, I do believe in having financial transparency within relationships, and for women to, even if you have a provider man, even if he's taking care of things, you still need to understand what your family's financial situation is as a woman within a marriage, especially because it does significantly impact you. And also, another thing that also happens is that you need to be a steward of your own financial education, because
Yes.
your partner may not be as financially astute, especially if he is a man, right? I have 4 brothers. I have no sisters.
Mm.
But out of all of us, I'm probably the one who knows more, have more financial education and habits, right? So do not assume. And I've known women who have been married before, or in situations where they are the ones who actually have the responsibility and direct their financial outcomes in their home, because they are the ones that are more responsible with the money, and the husband is a little bit more spendthrift. And so she's like, okay, here, just whatever you see in this account, you can spend, because I took care of the bills or the other situations. So, you cannot, as a woman, just not take the chance of just not knowing, because 98% of widows and divorced women wish that they had more of a hand in the finances of their family while they were either married or before their husband passed away, because the rude awakening comes in those moments. And in those moments, you do want to just focus on healing and recovering from the grief of the loss of your husband, whether that's by divorce or widow. you don't want to now have the added pressure and stress of where is the money coming from, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And you said it. What you just said, if I may add, about the women that when they become widow or divorced, how much they lost, and really, it's just about making just small changes, because sometimes women are the ones that are, taking care of the family and the finances in the family. It's just really just making small changes and making sure that the things that they need, it's in place, and just getting advice, and that would change so much. So I hope that as we're discussing this, and you're sharing the statistics, that those of us that are listening today will make that step and find out and be aware of what we have or what we don't have, and start making small changes to make sure that what we need is in place. It doesn't really take that much. It's just making small tweaks here and there, really, to make our family have what they need at the time of our greatest need, when we don't want to worry about stuff that we didn't think about, but we just want to, just like you say, grieve in peace, and just have that time to mourn our loved one if that ever happens to us, instead
Mm-hmm.
of worried about, oh, I have to go back to work now. It's not
Mm-hmm.
even a week, but you know that the money is not coming, because honestly, for people that don't have policies in place, you know that the first 30 the first 30 days, almost 30% don't have nothing to pay the bill. After 30 days, they don't. And then as the months even get far away, 4 months, 6 months, the percentage gets higher and higher, that they
Mm-hmm.
cannot take care of their family expenses, because they were not aware that they didn't what they thought they had, they didn't have it. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't have it because we're not asking questions and being involved in the financial affairs of their family. So I hope that as you know, this beautiful space that you have for women, that they're paying attention to what you're sharing with them and listening very closely, because we are the ones that have to carry most of the loss at the end of the day. And but at the same time too, we have so much power. Isn't that funny? Women have
Mm-hmm.
so much power, but at the same time, then something happens. They don't have, because they don't use it at the right time and make sure that everything is in place. So
Yeah,
I hope that well, women is a space where they can come and learn as much as they can, so they can take it back and implement it, because
exactly.
information is just information. You have to implement the information if you really want to benefit from what you're learning, right? So thank you as well, for creating this space for women, so they can actually just come and talk about what they feel, and how they can manage this or that, and then tie it on with their wealth. I think this is brilliant, Athena. I'm so proud of you for doing this. So thank you as well for making this possible.
Thank you so much. And we discussed so much, and the time has literally just flown by. I guess my last question for you is, or what I want you to share your perspective is, especially with millennial, which is my generation, and further down, right? I think your generation does a much better job of this, actually. There's a lot of like soft life, glamour life, luxury life. Like, I want to just relax and drink, sip drinks and Ooh la la. And to be honest with you, I partake in some of that too. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's
I'm
okay.
full transparency. I partake in some of that too.
Yeah.
However, do you think as women we have our priorities messed up or mixed up a little bit? Because back to what we're talking about, the amount of money we spend on beauty, hair, nails, all of those things, and not on things like life insurance. Can you talk about that? Where do you think we are as a collective on prioritizing our wealth in comparison to other things?
Wow. Listen, ladies, Athena, what a powerful statement. And I am so grateful that you said I participate in that, sipping too and having fun. I want to look beautiful. And we should. We should look good and love our lives. We should. But the question is, where's the balance? Am I making sure that I'm also planning for my future? am I making sure as well that I have this beauty that I have now, that the time is going to come where I have to now be able to, provide for myself and maintain what I have. What am I doing to make sure that this takes place? What am I doing to make sure that I preserve the legacy that I'm also building? So, ladies, yes, have fun, get your nails done, but I urge you to please sit down with somebody like myself, find out how much can I set aside so that I can actually have the life that I want. Because at the end of the day, is to see what are your financial needs, the money for your wants, the money for your needs, and then the money to protect and preserve your legacy, because you're a beautiful asset. You're an asset to your family, you're an asset to your community, you're an asset to your church, your husband, whatever it is, that wherever you are right now today, you're an asset. So it's important that as you're enjoying your life, you're doing this that you have to do, you still carve some and put aside, think about the future and put things aside, because it matters what we do. And we shouldn't only focus on just one aspect of our being, which is, okay, I'm this particular person now, I want to look a certain way. It's great to do that, but at the same time, find a balance. And trust me, it is so affordable. You will not believe how affordable it is. You'll be like, wow, I can skip doing my hair one day, do it myself, and use that money to put it aside, to have this asset class that I can feel good about, that if anything happens to me, my parents, my brothers, or whoever that loves me will know that somebody like me existed. And I was here, and I count. I made myself count. So it's possible. Don't overthink it that it's so expensive. It is not as costly as people think it is. Actually, it's not. It's so affordable. It's just a matter of spending the time and saying, okay, this is what I want to do, and have the direction, and then take action. Because guess what? You're younger. You have the chance also to grow your wealth in your policy, right? And it's also less expensive for you. You're healthier, you're stronger, you don't have any issues right now. Get it done while you can, because your youth is actually a positive for you, to get a cheaper price, to
Mm-hmm.
have also time to grow your cash value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a benefit. So don't use all to buy handbags like me, because trust me, I was like you too. I spent my money buying handbags and shoes, and today somebody can slap me and say, oh my gosh, what was that about? But now I know better, right? They say when you know better, you do better. Maya Angelou said it beautifully. So I think, guys, ladies, honestly, you can do it. It's not as costly as you think. Really,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
the cost of like, or even less than most cell phone bills actually. So just to give that perspective for you ladies. Now, ladies, if you are interested in getting your financial life together, especially the new year is coming upon us, and I know a lot of you guys spent a lot of coin on Thanksgiving and Black Friday and Christmas, but you need to take that money and make investments in yourself. You can find out how to do that in my course, The Goddess Guide to Money. We will
I
cover
love it.
abundance mindset, different wealth strategies, and how to create a financial structure for yourself so that you can have things in place and afford the insurance that Aisha is so greatly talking about. So you can find that on my website, wewealthwomen.com, and take the course, The Goddess Guide to Money. So, Aisha, thank you so much for coming on the show. There's so many other questions I wanted to ask you, especially someone who understands insurance. I wanted to go into riders. I wanted to go into different wealth
Let's do
strategies. So
it
you
next
have
time.
to
Yep.
come back. You have to come back on the show. So before we close out, I want you to share your final thoughts and where people can find you and your information. And if they want to get a policy with you, how can they go about that?
First of all, thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. I'm so grateful for the chance to be with you and to talk to your beautiful audience, the beautiful sisters out there. So thank you so much. My final thought is, ladies, you are worth it. You're an asset to your family. You're an asset to the community. You're an asset to the world. So you have a chance to really make it count by making sure that you protect yourself and put in place, really for pennies on the dollar, a policy for yourself that will leave a legacy of a lifetime for you, for yourself and your family, because a policy can be used for yourself as well, and also if something happened prematurely for those that you leave behind. So I think it's a very powerful tool that you incorporate in your financial toolbox, and don't take it for granted, because everything else that you do might require, others taken away from you, but this is something that truly belongs to you if you own it. That's one thing I would say. And second of all, it's affordable. If you want to reach out to me, let's talk about it. I really go in a low-key educational approach. I educate you first, find out what you need, and then based on your financial need, if there's a need, we implement it. If there's no need, we'll tell you there's no need. So you can reach me at Aisha@rverzi.com, or you can call me at 626-340-5746. My work is truly a work from my heart. I am a crusader. I believe this is so important. And share with your sisters out there, friends. Tell them about Wewealth Women. Tell them that they can tune in to this beautiful station and learn about, women and women's needs when it comes to finance and their wealth. Because I know Athena is doing a fantastic job. So make sure that you let your friends tune in to, to her station, and learn more about money and how to implement it properly. So thank you, Athena. I'm so grateful for this privileged opportunity.
Yes, and thank you so much for coming on the show and enlightening us and destigmatizing insurance. Everyone always gets upset to talk about death. Death is definitely coming for all of us. No one is coming out of this alive, this game of life. And you definitely do not want to have to set up a GoFundMe to provide a proper funeral or services for your loved one, and you definitely don't want to have to face any kind of financial struggle should you lose someone, or if someone should lose you, right? So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Aisha, for coming on the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow us at Wewealth Women on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And also be sure to find out about our latest course, the AI Business Launch course that will help you take your idea to income in such a short time. I know a lot of you are interested in starting businesses, so that would be very good for you to definitely streamline that whole process. This has been a lovely episode of the podcast. Please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, and we will look forward to seeing you in the next episode.